In this video, we are going to do Macbeth Act 3, Scene 3. Basically, what happens in this scene, it is a very short scene. So what happens is the three murderers as instructed by Macbeth. I have already told you that there were two murderers and one suddenly came from somewhere about whom we don't have any background information. So these two murderers were waiting for Banquo. As soon as Banquo comes, they attack Banquo and they are able to corner Banquo and kill him. But luckily, Fleance is able to fly away. Fleance is able to escape and save his life. So that is what happens in Act 3, Scene 3. And I'm not going to read the scene in details. So we would be reading the next scene, that is Act 3, Scene 4. And very famously, this scene is known as the banquet scene. So let us go into the banquet scene, one of the most important scenes in Macbeth. Already it has been told that Lady Macbeth and Macbeth has thrown a grand party in order to celebrate their kingship. And here we see that the banquet has already started. So the scene takes place in a hall within the palace. The banquet is prepared. There is Macbeth, Lady Macbeth, Ross, Lennox, lords and attendants. Very importantly, Macduff is not present. So the absence of Macduff is something to be noted in this scene. Macbeth tells everyone that you know your own degrees, sit down at first and last the hearty welcome. So he says that you know your rank in the society, in the court. So according to your rank, you can sit following a proper order. Now, the most important person after the king will be sitting next to the king and then next. So this is how the table will be filled. So you please take your seats according to your rank, according to your position. And I welcome you everyone to this banquet. The lords thank Macbeth. Thanks to your majesty, Macbeth says, ourselves will mingle with society and play the humble host. Our hostess keeps her state, but in best time we will require her welcome. So Macbeth says that I am going to meet everyone and cheer everyone for the party as a humble, as a proper host. As it is expected from me as the host of this party, I am going to meet and welcome everyone. And Lady Macbeth is going to play the role of the hostess of this party. Lady Macbeth says, pronounce it for me, sir, to all our friends, for my heart speaks they are welcome. Lady Macbeth also tells that, sir, on behalf of me, please tell everyone that I heartily welcome them to this banquet. At this moment, Macbeth notices the first murderer has come to the door. Obviously, Macbeth realizes that the murderer must have completed his job. That is why Banquo has not come, but the murderer has come. So he goes towards them. See, they encounter thee with their heart's thanks. Both sides are even. Here I will sit in the midst and be large in mid. Anon we will drink a measure the table round. So Macbeth first ignores the murderer and tells the members of the party that please everyone enjoy the party with all your heart, because I want to thank you for coming here. I want to thank you for being a part of this celebration. And now I am going to drink a glass full of wine to express my thankfulness to everyone and express how happy I am. And then he leaves the banquet for a moment and he goes towards the door. And he looks at that murderer and notices that there are some blood spots in the face of that murderer. So he tells them, there's blood upon thy face. There is some blood marks in your face. Murderer says, it is Banquo's then. Macbeth says, it is better thee without than he within. Is he dispatched? So the murderer confirms that this is the blood of Banquo, and Macbeth is very happy. He says that this blood looks better on your face than inside his body. Have you completed the task of murder? The murderer says, my lord, his throat is cut that I did for him. So yes, we have dispatched him, finished him off by cutting his throat, and I myself did this noble task. Macbeth says, thou art the best of the cutthroats, yet he is good that did the like for Fleance. If thou didst, thou art a non-peril. So Macbeth tells that you are one of the experts, most expert persons in cutting throat in this whole country. But I would be even happy with that person who has cut the throat of Fleance. If you yourself have done this, if you yourself have cut the throat of Fleance, then I think you are an unparalleled personality in cutting throats. The murderer now gives the bad news to Macbeth. He says, "Most royal sir, Fleance escaped, that is." Macbeth says, underline, "Then comes my fit again. I had else been perfect, whole as the marble, founded as the rock, as broad and general as the casing air, but now I am cabined, cribbed, confined, bound into saucy doubts and fears. But Banquo is safe." So Macbeth says that if Fleance is alive, then my tension comes back to me. Then my tension is not going to leave me so easily. Otherwise, I had been perfect, as strong as a marble, as deep rooted as a rock. I was so strong. I was happily moving around as the air moves. But now that you have told that Fleance is still alive, I feel that I am cabin, cribbed, confined, and bound in saucy doubts. Cabin, cribbed, confined is an alliteration. All these terms means I am struck up. I am caught. So I am caught up in doubts and in fear. But Banquo has been safely dispatched, isn't it? The murderer says, my good lord, safe in a ditch he bides, with 20 trenched gashes on his head, at the least a death to nature." So the murderer confirms that yes, Banquo has died with 20 wounds to his skull. Naturally, this is not possible for him to survive. He must have died. Macbeth says, "Thanks for that. There the grown serpent lies. The worm that's fled hath nature in that in time will venom breed. No teeth for the present." So Macbeth again uses the snake imagery. He says that, okay, at least you have killed the big serpent, the big snake, and the baby snake has till now not got enough poison. That is, Fleance is the baby snake. It is not yet poisonous. Its poison teeth has not yet developed, but because it is a snake, after all, it will develop a poison teeth and attack later. But as of now, it's not a tension. In the present, it is not a big tension. "Get thee gone. Tomorrow we will hear ourselves again." So go as of now. We will discuss of this more tomorrow. Now, murderer goes away and Lady Macbeth comes to Macbeth and tells, "My royal lord, you do not give the cheer, the feast is sold. If you do not look happy, the feast will be spoiled, it will be destroyed. That is often vouched while it is a making, it is given with welcome. Whenever a feast or a party is going, it should be successful only if the host has a welcome in his appearance, if the host is warm and welcoming. But if the host is keeping quiet and staying aloof, the feast is spoilt." Underline, "To feed were best at home, from thence the sauce to meat is ceremony, meeting were bare without it." The best place to have your dinners and your lunch is your house. And if somebody is leaving the comfort of their house and coming to somebody else's house to take a dinner, then the food is not important, but the warmth of reception is more important. The love and affection that the host shows towards the guest is more important. So all your guests have come here not to eat the food. They have come here only because they have come to appreciate you, to thank you. So if you behave like this, they will be very upset. Their feast will be spoilt. Macbeth says, "Sweet remembrancer, thank you for reminding me. Now good digestion, weight and appetite and health on both." So he says that, he tells everyone that I hope you can eat properly and you can digest the food properly and you have a good health after eating this food. Lennox says, "May it please your highness sit." Lennox tells, "Why don't you sit? We are all sitting in the banquet. Why don't you sit and enjoy it?" At that moment, a ghost enters and sits on the table, on the stool that was fixed for Macbeth. The chair which was fixed for Macbeth, the ghost comes and sits there. Macbeth says, "Here had we now our country's honor roofed, were the graced person of our Banquo present." So see the height of hypocrisy. Macbeth, after killing Banquo, tells that now at this moment, under this roof, all important person of this country are present. I just wish Banquo was also present here. "Who may I rather challenge for unkindness than pity for mischance?" So he says that when Banquo comes back, I will challenge him. Why didn't he come here? Rather than showing any pity to him about why he did not come, I am going to challenge and ask him why he missed this banquet. Ross says, his absence, sir, lays blame upon his promise, please to your highness to grace us with your royal company. Ross explains to Macbeth that it is his fault, not yours. You invited him, but if he fails to come, it is his fault, not yours. So as of now, please sit down and give us your great company. Macbeth says the table is full. Lennox says, here is a place reserved, sir. Macbeth says, where? And Lennox says, here, my good lord. What is it that moves your highness? So Lennox and other characters are not able to see the ghost. So they see that there is an empty stool and they are continuously asking Macbeth to come and sit in this stool. But Macbeth is shocked. He looks at the stool and notices that a ghost is sitting there. So his expression suddenly changes and he says, which of you have done this? Who has done this mischief? The lords are surprised at the change of Macbeth's attitude. They say, what, my good lord, what has happened? Macbeth says, thou canst not say I did it, never shake thy gory locks at me. Macbeth has been able to recognize that this is no ordinary ghost, but it is the ghost of Banquo. So he is so rapt, so nervous seeing Banquo that he says that you cannot say I have done this. Please don't shake your head like this. So the ghost is continuously shaking its head like this. And Macbeth says that don't do that. Don't try to scare me by moving your head and by moving your hair like that. Don't tell that I have done anything to you. Others are shocked. Ross says, gentleman, rise, his highness is not well. They realize that maybe Macbeth has some epileptic fit. You have heard about the problem of Mirgi. So this is a kind of disease when somebody suddenly starts reacting in a peculiar way. They have a nervous pull. So similarly, the characters think that Macbeth must be having something epileptic fit, and that is why he is behaving like that. So Ross tells that, gentleman, please get out of this place. He is not well. Lady Macbeth tries her best to solve the problem. She says, sit, worthy friends, my lord is often thus, and hath been from his youth. Pray you keep sit, the fit is momentary. Upon a thought he will again be well. If much you note him, you shall offend him and extend his passion. Feed and regard him not. Are you a man? So she tells everyone that please don't bother about it, because Macbeth has this disease of getting these kind of epileptic fits from his childhood, from his youth. But this is very momentary. It happens for a moment and then he forgets everything and he is all natural. So please don't notice him. Please don't bother him. Please don't ask him any question. You continue to eat your food and see, Macbeth will be very normal very soon. And then she looks at Macbeth and says, are you a man? Are you normal? What happened to you? Macbeth says, and a bold one that dare look on that which might appeal the devil. Macbeth says, yes, I am a man, and I am a bold man, a courageous man who can look face to face with the devil. Lady Macbeth's speech is important, please underline. Oh, proper stuff, this is the very painting of your fear. This is the air-drawn dagger which you said led you to Duncan. Oh, these flaws and stars, impostors to true fear, would well become a woman's story at a winter's fire, authorized by her grandam. Shame itself, why do you make such faces when all's done, you look but on a stool? So Lady Macbeth scolds Macbeth. She says that these are all your hallucinations. All these fears and all these expressions are all because of your hallucination. Just like you hallucinated that dagger before killing Duncan, similarly you are again hallucinating something. There is no ghost at all. And then she says that these kind of scary moments, these kind of fears suit a woman who is telling stories about ghosts to her grandchildren on a winter's night. A grandmother sitting in front of the fireplace and telling scary stories to the children. These kind of threats, these kind of expressions suit such a grandmother. It doesn't suit a person who is going to be the next king of Scotland. So it is a shame that you are making such kind of faces, such fear. When everything is done, when everything has been so properly planned and everything went so well, you are spoiling everything by looking at that stool. Macbeth says, Prithee, see there, behold, look, lo, how say you? Macbeth is not able to understand why is Lady Macbeth so calm, because he can see the ghost, Lady Macbeth or others cannot. So that is why Macbeth says that, please, I request you, look at that. How can I remain calm after seeing a ghost like that? Why, what care I if thou canst nod, speak too? So now he addresses the ghost. He says that I don't get afraid of you. If you can shake your head, you can speak also. Tell me, if the charnel houses and our graves must send those that we bury back, our monuments shall be the maws of kite. He says that charnel houses means the funeral vaults, the tombs. So if the tombs keep on opening, and if the graves keep on opening, and the dead bodies come out of the grave and sit in our palaces, then very soon our palaces will be filled with kites and vultures, because you know that kites and vultures are scavenger birds. Whenever they see dead body, they come and start eating it. So if the dead bodies will come out of the graves like this and sit inside the palaces, then the palaces will be filled with kites and vultures who will come to eat them up. Lady Macbeth says, now the ghost vanishes. Okay, so Lady Macbeth says, what, quite unmanned in folly, you have lost your manliness in this fear. Macbeth says, if I stand here, I saw him. If I am a living human being, if I have any senses alive, I am telling you, I am assuring you, I saw him present here. Lady Macbeth says, fie for shame, shame on you, chi. Macbeth says, underline, blood hath been shed ere now, in the olden time a human statute purged the gentle wheel, aye, and since 2 murders have been performed, too terrible for the year. The time has been that when the brains were out, the man would die, and that an end. So Macbeth says that this is not the first time somebody has committed murder. In the history, many times murder has been committed, and that too not some ordinary murder, but some great scary murder, some barbarous murder, the stories about which can make anyone afraid, too terrible for anyone to hear. Such kind of horrible murder has taken place. It has been done that people's head was banged with something and the brain came out and the man died. But now they rise again with 20 mortal murders on their crowns, and push us from our stools. This is more strange than such a murder is. But in earlier times, once a person was murdered, he died. Nowadays, the things changed so much that even after death, the people are coming out of their graves and sitting on our stools to replace us from our position. This is indeed very strange. Now, Lady Macbeth says, my worthy lord, your noble friend do lack you. Please get back to your normal senses. Your friends are missing your company. Macbeth tries to be a little bit normal. He tries to calm himself down. He says, I do forget. Do not muse at me, my most worthy friends. I have a strange infirmity. So now he apologizes from everyone. He says that please don't bother about me. Please don't think about me. I have this strange disease in my body. I have this strange sickness in my body, which is nothing to those that know me. Come, love and health to all. Then I will sit down. Give me some wine. Fill full. So he says that those who know me very well, they know this is a common disease I have. You guys don't know me very well. That is why you are seeing this for the first time. But please don't be afraid. Let's once again enjoy the feast. Please give me a cup full of wine so that I can enjoy it. Again the ghost enters. Macbeth says, I drink to the general joy of the whole table and to our dear friend Banquo, whom we miss. So as if whenever Macbeth is referring to Banquo, the ghost is coming. Last time he said that I am very upset Banquo did not turn up for the party, and then he saw the ghost. This time again, out of hypocrisy, he says that I raise my toast for everyone and especially for my dear friend Banquo. And at that moment the ghost of Banquo again enters and sits on that stool. Would he were here, to all and him we thirst, and all to all. So to all my friends and especially to Banquo, I raise this toast. And everyone, all the other dukes also and all the other noblemen also, they raise their glasses and they say, to our duty and the pledge. So we pledge our duty, we promise our support to the king. Macbeth again notices the ghost of Banquo. He says, "Avaunt, get out, and quit my sight. Let the earth hide thee. Thy bones are marrowless, thy blood is cold. Thou hast no speculation in those eyes which thou dost glare with." He looks at the ghost and he says, "Get out of here. I know you are a ghost. Go and hide inside the earth. You are not fit to be present inside the palace, inside human habitation. I know your bone is marrowless. I know your blood is cold. I know your eye does not have sight." Why? Because you are a dead character, dead person. How can you be looking at me like this as if you can see me? Lady Macbeth says, "Think of this, good peers, but as a thing of custom, it is no other, it only spoils the pleasure of the time." Lady Macbeth once again tries her best to make up for this situation. She says that, "Please don't bother about it. Just think this is his habit and ignore it. It spoils the pleasure of this moment. You don't let the pleasure to be spoiled. You please continue to have your food." Macbeth says, "What man dare I dare? Approach thou like a rugged Russian bear, the armed rhinoceros, the Hyrcan tiger, take any shape but that, and my firm nerves shall never tremble." He says that I have as much courage as any man should have. So if you want to challenge me, come in the shape of a living creature. Take the shape of a ferocious Russian bear, or take the shape of a rhinoceros with a horn, or take the shape of a Persian tiger. So whatever shape you want to take, you can take, but come in front of me as a living creature, and then you see how courageous I am. Then you see whether I am afraid or not. Or be alive again and dare me to the desert with thy sword. If trembling I inhabit, then protest me, the baby of a girl. Or once again be alive, he tells Banquo, once again be alive and come and challenge me with your sword to come and fight in some barren place. If during that fight, if I tremble, during that fight, if I become afraid, then you can insult me by calling me a little baby girl. Hence, horrible shadow, unreal mockery, hence. Go away, you shadow, go away. You are a mockery, you are fake, you are unreal, go away. The ghost vanishes finally. "Why so, being gone, I am a man again, pray you sit still." So he says that finally it has gone. Once again I have resumed my normal sense. Once again I am all right. Lady Macbeth says, "You have displaced the mirth, broke the good meeting with most admired disorder." You have already spoiled everything. You have spoiled the meeting, you have spoiled the fun of this banquet. Everything has been totally destroyed. Macbeth says, "Can such things be and overcome us like a summer's cloud without a special wonder?" Macbeth is shocked. He says, Lady Macbeth, that, "Do you want me to see a ghost and behave as if I have seen nothing? Is it possible for any human being to see something as unnatural as a ghost and behave as if I am seeing a cloud in the summer sky and ignore it?" Well, in their country, in England at least, summer clouds are very common. So it's nothing unnatural. People ignore the cloud in the sky during summer season. So Macbeth says, "Do you want me to ignore a ghost standing in front of me, just like people normally ignore a cloud in the summer season? Is it possible to behave normal without wondering at such an incident? You make me strange even to the disposition that I owe, when now I think you can behold such sights and keep the natural ruby of your cheeks, when mind is blanched with fear." So he says that I am really shocked, I am really surprised that you want me to see such a thing, and you want me to continue to keep the glow in my cheek. When one sees that thing, obviously the cheeks are going to turn pale and white. How can I continue to have that much glow in my face without being afraid, seeing such a ghost? Ross says, "What sights, my lord?" Macbeth is completely off his guard. He reveals certain things which he should not have in front of the people. So Ross catches it and he says, "What sight have you seen?" Lady Macbeth realizes this will not be proper to keep the members right now in the house. Let them be gone. She says, I pray you speak not. He grows worse and worse. Question enrages him. At once, good night. I request you, please don't ask any question. Please don't make the situation even more worse. Get up and go. Stand not upon the order of your going, but go at once. Normally, the important people will leave first, the lesser important then next. So, Lady Macbeth says, don't follow that order and decorum today. All of you go at once. Lennox says, good night and better health attend His Majesty. Lady Macbeth says, a kind good night to all. Everyone leaves the stage other than Lady Macbeth and Macbeth. Macbeth says, underline, it will have blood. They say blood will have blood. Stones have been known to move and trees to speak. Augurs and understood relations have the by maggot pies and cows, cuffs and rooks brought forth the secretest man of blood. What is the night? He says that it is said that if you shed blood, it will have more blood. If you kill one person, it will require more killing. So that is what is happening to me. We have heard in the stories that murder can never be hidden. The stones will move from their place to uncover the dead bodies. Even sometimes in some fairy tales, the trees have spoken to reveal how people have murdered others. Sometimes the birds come and reveal the secret of murder. So somehow or the other, murder gets revealed, gets exposed. What is the time of the night? Lady Macbeth says, almost at odds with the morning, which is which. So it's almost about to be early morning. Macbeth says, how sayest thou that Macduff denies his person at our great bidding? Macbeth says, you are telling me that Macduff has not come to this great party even after such invitation. Lady Macbeth says, did you send to him? Did you actually invite him? Macbeth says, I hear it by the way, but I will send. Yes, I have heard. I have sent a report, but once again I will send somebody to find out the real reason why Macduff is absent. I keep there's not a one of them, but in his house I keep a servant feed. So don't worry, I have a servant as a spy giving him some fee. I have kept a servant in the house of Macduff to find out what is going on. I will find it out from him. I will tomorrow, and betimes I will to the weird sisters. I will tomorrow find out about Macduff, but before that I will go once again to the witches. More shall they speak, for now I am bent to know the worst means the worst. So he says that tomorrow I have a plan to know even more facts about my future, more things about my future. So from the worst means I want to know the worst. What is the worst means? The witches. So from the witches I am going to know what more evil things will go happen to me after this. For mine own good all causes shall give way. I am in blood stepped in so far that should I wade no more. Now my only attention will be to save and keep myself secure in this throne. Already I have steeped myself in blood. Already I have started walking in a pond of blood. So I will have to go forward. There is no coming backward for me. I am so much steeped in blood that I cannot come back to safety once again. I will have to walk forward and forward. Returning were as tedious as go ever. Strange things I have heard that will to hand, strange things I have in head, that will to hand, which must be acted ere they may be scanned. So he says, I have some strange plans in my head, but before I execute those plans, I need to think about it, I need to worry about it a little bit. Lady Macbeth says, you lack the season of all nature's sleep. Lady Macbeth says, right now what you need is to sleep. You are tensed, you are anxious because you are sleep deprived. Go and sleep. Macbeth says, come, we will to sleep. My strange and self-abuse is the initiate fear that wants hard use. We underline, we are yet but young indeed. So he says, yes, let's go and sleep. I am afraid, I am scared because we are still not expert murderers. I am still young in the activity of murder. Once we become expert in this ruthless activity of murder, we will no longer feel so much nervous, we will no longer feel so much scared. So I just want to expertise in the deed of murder. Unless and until I expertise, I will not be free from my guilt. So that is why he says we are but young indeed. That means we have not yet become experts in committing murder. That's all for the banquet scene. Now I will again jump the next scene also. The scene 5 of this act 3 is about Hecate and the witches. Hecate is basically the goddess of the witches. So Hecate comes and scolds the witches for not clearly stating things in front of Macbeth, and she suggests the witches that okay, now next time when Macbeth is going to come, confuse him even more. That is what happens in this scene, not very important. So let's keep up to here today.